And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, if you just want a sample of how irritating Bernie Fest in Los Angeles was, the opening act was Isabel Urado.
Good morning, Los Angeles!
Whoa.
Whoa, that's a voice only a mother could love.
Good morning, Los Angeles!
We voted for that.
I don't think she needed a microphone.
Good morning, Los Angeles!
Imagine her as a flight attendant doing the PA when you're trying to get to Dallas. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. The big story nationally that has been batted around for the last few weeks are the tariffs that President Donald Trump has imposed on China and the threats of tariffs that he threatened to impose on other countries if the trade imbalance that the United States is experiencing right now and has been for quite some time is not rectified. And a lot of the conversation surrounding that subject deals with the economics of it. What's it going to do for the stock market? What's it going to do for my retirement? What's it going to do for my purchasing power at Walmart or the grocery store or fill in the blank? But there are other aspects of what's going on right now with trade that impact not just you individually, but society and the country as a whole. For example, there is an element that exists with international trade that deals with national security. Go look at COVID, for example. When COVID-19 hit, thanks to Fauci and the Chinese in Wuhan, we needed all kinds of drugs. We needed drugs to treat people in the hospital. We needed PPE. We needed all kinds of things. And we didn't have it. We didn't have access to many of those drugs because they were made in China, or at least a portion of them were made in China. And we had to buy those drugs from the Chinese, but the Chinese needed them too. So guess what? We took the back seat. The same thing happened with the masks and the gloves and the gowns and everything else, the ventilators that we needed during the worst moments in the COVID-19 pandemic. If you make those things at home, you don't have to rely on the good graces of the Chinese to have access to them. You make them, you use them, and if you have anything left over, you can then turn around and sell it to other countries. That's how it would work. When you think about warfare, you think about World War II. One of the reasons that we were able to win World War II was that we could build ships and planes and bombs faster than the competition. We had the ability to make things back then. And because of that ability, we won World War II, and that was all she wrote for the Germans and the Japanese and the Italians. Modern warfare is going to look a little different than what we experienced in World War II. You watch these experts on television, these military experts that talk about what the next world war will look like, and essentially what they tell you is that it's all going to be fought by drones. It's not going to be pilots and planes. It's not going to be warships. It's not going to be all the things that we remember with World War II and other global conflicts. It's going to be more like Star Wars. It's going to be drones that don't have pilots in them. They can go faster. They can get to different sorts of places. You don't have to worry about the loss of the life of the pilot. That's future warfare. But if you don't build the drones, if you buy them from China, that's a problem. And right now, we don't build a lot of things in the United States. And if you want to build things, you have to work out the trade imbalance, and you have to bring some of that manufacturing back home. When you also don't build things, you have cities that used to have factories that no longer have factories. You have downtown areas, not just downtown LA and downtown San Francisco and Oakland and San Diego, but downtowns all over the United States that are essentially filled with people who work in the service industry. Many of those jobs are white-collar jobs now, but that's who essentially works there. Who works in downtown L.A. now? It's bankers, it's lawyers, it's accountants, it's people who work in HR. Well, guess what? If you work in one of those professions, you don't have to be in the U.S. Bank building in downtown L.A. You don't have to be in San Francisco. You could be in your pajamas, in your mother's basement, in some rural part of the state, some rural part of the country, a suburb, whatever. It doesn't matter. And if the downtown area is filled with homeless people and crime, and it's not desirable and it's expensive, it makes the choice easy for you not to go to work at an office in downtown. So what's happening to downtowns? Downtowns are becoming ghost towns. It's not just a California thing like homelessness tends to be, or at least a Pacific Coast thing. It's happening all over the country. Let's listen to the comedian Theo Vaughn talk about just exactly what life is like on the road when he performs his comedy show around the country.
Oh, these tariffs are getting out of control.
Oh, yeah. The tariffs are getting out of control. All the everyday items that will cost Americans more following Donald Trump's global tariffs. But here's the thing with tariffs is the goal of tariffs is that if it costs more for people to bring their products in, then they'll build them here.
Yes,
right?
That's part of it, yeah.
So it's kind of a long-term play. It's going to take a while.
It's going to be bumpy for a while,
right.
But that's if it works.
Right.
So we'll see, but it might take 10 years.
Right. If we don't try this, though, then I think it's a wrap.
Oh, you think just go for it, bite the belt and go for it?
I do, because I think at this point, even from my own perception, we'd probably on this tour, this comedy tour, we've been to probably the top 200 cities, like size-wise, in America, maybe even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, there's nothing there.
Yes.
It's empty downtowns.
Oh, yeah. It's boarded up.
We're in Amarillo. It's empty downtown. Shreveport.
Amarillo's always been empty, dude.
That's true. Although they do have that restaurant where if you eat the big steak, the shrimp cocktail, the salad, the dinner roll, in an hour you get it for free.
We're in Amarillo. It's empty downtown. Shreveport, Louisiana. It was empty downtown. Toledo, Ohio, right? It's getting a little bit better there. And that's just a few. I mean, a lot of places. Montgomery, just empty.
Yep.
And so you start to be like, nothing's going to change. There's nothing coming that's going to make that different, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe that's just how society changes and evolves, and we just end up with like 7 big cities in America, and the rest of it is just like rural land where people live and have great lives, but they're not in like a city.
Yeah.
And these things fall by the wayside.
So this is in part what President Trump is trying to do with these tariffs. He is trying to bring manufacturing home for national security reasons and to help cities, help states in the United States that are seeing their downtown areas essentially turn into ghost towns by bringing life and bringing jobs and bringing wealth back into them. But when you listen to politicians from California, they seem to not understand what's causing all of these downtown areas to become ghost towns. They don't connect the dots. They think people don't go downtown because they have to stop drinking alcohol at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's what they think is the barrier keeping people out of downtown San Francisco, L.A., San Diego.
That's definitely what Party Boy Assemblyman Matt Haney thinks, as last week he unveiled in downtown L.A. a bill that's going to save our downtowns in L.A., San Francisco, and other major cities by creating entertainment zones that push the last call till 4 a.m.
Let's hear him make the case.
Good morning. My name is Matt Haney. I'm an assembly member from San Francisco, and welcome to Los Angeles. We are here in front of the Los Angeles Convention Center.
Watch out for the prostitutes.
Wait, how close to Figueroa are they?
It's on Figueroa.
They may wander into the live shoot.
Alongside the crypto arena.
Nobody calls it that.
Nope.
Home of the Los Angeles Lakers. And though some of us may cheer for different sports teams, we are here.
Who laughed at that?
Well, we know he cheers for different sports teams because he accepts a lot of free tickets.
Yes, Matt Haney was caught up in a scandal thanks to the investigators at the San Francisco Standard that showed that he was having campaign fundraiser events at Niners games and Warrior games.
And Broadway shows.
We are here united around what hospitality zones and a thriving nighttime economy can mean for our state. We know that cities across our state have struggled to come back fully after the pandemic. City after city, we've seen downtowns that are still experiencing some of the country's highest vacancy rates in offices, vacancy rates in retail, and the way that our cities are able to...
Wait, so the answer to that is more alcohol?
Drinking on the job, that's the future.
are able to compete to bring people back could not be more critical. We have to, as a state, help our cities come back fully and recover.
How exactly does pushing the last call till 4 a.m. turn into more offices renting out office space in a downtown like downtown L.A.?
No, the party crowd is totally different from the working crowd. What you need if you want to fill up those downtowns is you need the man in the gray flannel suit. You need people who show up to the office, clock in, perform their work, maybe they have a 3-martini lunch, clock out, and go home. That's what you need. If you're going to make that economy work, those are the people who are going to do it for you. As terms of the party crowd, they come in for the basketball games. They come in for the hockey games. They come in for the concerts. They come in for the theater. They come in for those things, and then they go home. But it's two different crowds. Think about it like the airlines. If you are an airline, you're American Airlines, and you're trying to make money as an airline, well, you do most of it by selling the credit card, but that's a different story. Your bread and butter are business travelers. Those are the people who are buying the first-class tickets. Those are the people who need to be in a certain place at a certain time, so they buy the expensive flights. They don't have the ability to go on an overnight flight or a flight that is on a weekend, those sorts of things. And they also buy fully refundable tickets because if the meeting gets delayed or the meeting gets canceled, you have to have flexibility. The leisure travelers, you basically break even on them. People who are going to Disney World, people who are going on a cruise ship, they look for the cheapest flight. They don't care if they switch planes 4 times. They don't care if they leave at 1 o'clock in the morning. They don't care. They're price point buyers. Those people are not going to keep the airlines healthy. The business travelers keep the airlines healthy. If you want the downtown areas to be healthy, you need people who work, you need people who make money, you need people who are going to pump money into that economy. The leisure people, that's a totally separate thing, and that is not your bread and butter. The Lakers don't play every day. The Kings don't play every day. Basketball season isn't 12 months a year. You can't be reliant on them to make those areas run.
We need people in our downtowns. We need them to come here not just during the day, but at night.
Have you been to downtown L.A. at night?
It's like a zombie apocalypse movie.
You know, unlike a lot of downtowns, we were just in downtown Long Beach. Downtown L.A. is literally where Skid Row is. Downtown L.A., if you step one street too far outside of L.A. Live, is a zombie apocalypse. How exactly is more booze going to solve that?
Yeah. Be inebriated when you're trying to get out when you should be looking over your shoulder.
We know that when people come to our cities, whether for conventions, for basketball games, for big events, even to work or to live, they are often looking for not only thriving daytime opportunities, but nighttime opportunities as well. Being able to attract these large conventions to our cities, large festivals.
They're not skipping L.A. because you can't drink till 4 a.m. They're skipping downtown L.A. because the convention center is right next to a whorehouse.
Okay, I think I figured this out. He's doing this for the same reason that Ricardo Lara is giving State Farm rate increases. They're the ones that pay his travel expenses, or they're the ones that invite him to all of these junkets all around the globe. They're the ones that go to fancy restaurants with him. They scratch his back, he scratches theirs. This guy gets in trouble for using campaign dollars for tickets to the 49ers and the Warriors and concerts and Broadway shows, all of those sorts of things. If you are trying to impress that industry, or you're trying to do something for that industry, keeping the bars open late matters to them because that pumps more money into that economy. But he's not doing it for the downtown areas. He's doing it for the people he cares about down there, which are the professional sports teams.
You talk to bartenders who have worked places like Vegas where they're open till 4, they're open till 6, whatever it is. Those crowds past 2 a.m. are not necessarily the money-making crowds. Those are the crowds that end up breaking things in your establishment.
Yeah, not much that's good happens that late at night. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
Like, let's say that you want to get even more Pamela Price into your life.
Quite frankly.
You can either listen to her podcast, which I don't recommend, or you can listen to us making fun of her podcast.
I've been bipped several times.
Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show and hit subscribe.
Absolutely.
That way you can hear us play this clip.
She called me a crime boss.
All right. I want to hear from you at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Assemblyman Matt Haney, a Democrat of San Francisco, says that downtown areas in California are empty, and he thinks that increasing the last call from 2 a.m. to, 6 a.m.?
He wants to push it to 4 a.m.
4 a.m. Okay, he wants to move last call from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., and he thinks that's the magic bullet to bring the downtown areas back in California. I actually don't think that empty downtowns is a California-specific problem. I think that's going on all over the United States. If you want people going back to downtown areas, you need to bring industries back. We need to start making things again, and downtown areas need to be safe. You can't allow the homeless to take over. You can't allow the criminals to take over. And I would also add this. You need to add parking. I know they try to push us to buses and light rail and all of those sorts of things, but they're not safe right now. And if they're not safe, normal people won't take them. People will go downtown for a game if they can be safe in their car, but you need to have parking options for people if they're going to go downtown. So that would be my top 3 list. What are yours? What do you think would bring people back to downtown areas in California? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. California Assemblyman Matt Haney says that if downtowns are going to come back, we have to push last call from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. I don't think that's the problem. If you want to bring people back to downtown areas, you have to have industry there. Downtown has to be safe. You can't let the homeless take over, and people have to have access to parking. If you do those things, people will go downtown again, but I don't think last call really matters. What say you? At 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Ryu in San Jose. Welcome.
You say Rui?
Rui. Okay. Hi, Rui.
Hey, man. Hey, I love your show, man. You guys are funny.
Thank you.
I'm just, you know, man. You go downtown and they got the meters, and sometimes you pay more for the meters than you do for, like, if you want to go to lunch or a dinner or something like that. It's ridiculous. It seems like they're just nickel and diming us to death. So a lot of people ain't going to go. They'd rather go to just around the corner and get something to eat and not go downtown and deal with these stupid meters.
Oh, and some of the parking is crazy. You go there for a basketball game or a hockey game, or even for some of those office buildings, they charge you an arm and a leg to park your car there for just a few hours. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's $35, I believe, right now. Sometimes $40 if you're close to the arena.
And if you have a Kia, you have to pay for parking, and then your car gets stolen, and you don't even have a ride home.
Yeah, well, if you have a smart car, they'll just put it in somebody's pickup and take that car too. Let's just take it home.
Thank you for the call.
Yeah.
Rui in San Jose. Call again, buddy.
Now, Randy, when you were a kid, did your parents ever take you to downtown L.A., or was that one of those areas that was just off limits?
Never went to downtown LA. Didn't go to Hollywood until I was 18 years old. My parents I was born in the Valley. We lived in the Valley until the riots, and then they moved us to Valencia, and we never left.
Okay, I think that's pretty common for people our age, and you're a little bit younger than me, but we're around the same area. But you talk to people a generation older than us, they didn't live in downtown. They grew up in the suburbs, but they would go shopping downtown. That's where the department stores were. That's where you got your picture with Santa Claus. That's when you went out for a nice meal. A lot of the clubs are down there. That's where the California Club is, and the Jonathan Club, and places like that, where you'd go out for a nice evening on the town. And then those areas became dangerous, and people just stopped going there. People started going back when you had LA Live, and you had Staples Center. You had different venues that would attract people, Disney Concert Hall, to go back to downtown Los Angeles. But the population patterns are like an accordion. When the cities are fun, people go to the cities. When the cities get to be too dangerous, they go back out to the suburbs. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's cyclical. And right now, for whatever reason, big cities, and again, I'm not going to pin this just on California politicians, although they are some of the worst offenders, but big cities in general are just poorly run right now. They're not safe. The government's their fiscal house is a complete wreck. And it's not just here, but it's also Chicago. It's also places like Philadelphia. It's New York City. Big cities all over the country just can't get their act together right now.
Hey, we got some emails on this. You can always email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Roger writes in with his 3 picks to bring back tourist conventions and events back to L.A. and San Francisco. Number 1, move all the homeless to the L.A. and Oakland Coliseums. There's plenty of space and services long since paid for. Number 2, prosecute crime. Number 3, drop hotel, restaurant, and other prices. He's right about that. It is very expensive to go out downtown.
Do you think, let's just assume for 1 second, and oh boy, this is an alternate universe, that big city governments did everything right. That the city of LA, the council, the mayor, they got their act together. San Francisco, Oakland, San Diego, all of them. And that downtown areas were clean. Downtown areas had dining options. Downtown areas had parking options. They had public transit options. Traffic moved freely. Do you think that we live in a society now that would accept going back to work downtown, facing a 30, 40-minute commute, maybe even longer than that, where you work in a big office building, you're away from your family, you have to go out, bring a sack lunch with yourself to work, or maybe go out to a restaurant, fight the traffic on the way home. Do you think we're ever going to go back to that, or do you think that's just one of these things that's just part of history?
It's completely gone, and people have completely changed the way they work. People don't want to be in places like downtowns. People like the idea of working remotely, and that's why you're seeing so much pushback for all these return to works in places like Sacramento, where not only are the state employees complaining about the fact that they don't want to go back to work, they have to pay hundreds of dollars a month to park downtown.
What do you do with that space? If what you're suggesting is true, and the jobs are not going back downtown, and that ship has sailed, and that's never going to happen, you still have a lot of space there. You have a lot of commercial space. You have a lot of big, tall buildings. that cost a fortune to operate. What do you do with that space?
Well, you would think the smart thing to do would be convert it to residential, but apparently the state makes that so expensive it's impossible to do, which is why we have all these vacant office spaces all over the place.
Well, either way, if the jobs come back, if Randy's wrong and the jobs come back, or if we just say, okay, that's not going to happen, we're going to convert all of that into living space, the one thing that needs to happen, regardless of which one of those takes, is that it needs to be safe down there. If it's not safe down there, if it's not clean down there, that's another thing that people don't talk a lot about, but it's true. When you see trash on the street, when you smell funny smells, when you see graffiti, when you see things that just remind you that the area is dirty, the sidewalks don't get washed, the sides of the buildings don't get washed, it just looks like a dirty place that you don't want to spend any time in. And what's crazy is that not that long ago, they used to have these magazines would always rate cities. Before BuzzFeed, it was in magazines. And San Francisco was always rated the cleanest big city in the United States. And they would win that title every single year because they just took great pride in keeping the city very clean. Now it's not just San Francisco that's dropped the ball on that. All of the big cities, with a few exceptions, you go to some place like Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is a pretty clean downtown. But you go to downtown Las Vegas, that's a dump. You go to downtown Los Angeles or San Francisco, it just doesn't look clean and appealing.
I don't think downtown LA's been clean since the 40s.
Yeah, they definitely need some Ajax down there.
Nicholas writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. What would bring me back downtown? Well, less poop, far less poop, less AIDS needles, definitely don't like those. A reduction in stabbing, not a big fan of the stabbing. Maybe don't smash all the car windows so much, that might help. Cheaper beer, I don't want to, nor plus could I afford to drink till 4 a.m. with your $15 IPA hipster crap beer. Give me Coors Light in a bottle so I can defend myself with it and give it to me for $2.50 like every other state in the union, not $8.50, not a Pizzler or overpriced BS. Oh, and parking would be nice, free parking. Stop stealing my car, too. That might help the traffic at to and from downtown, you know. Wait, there's nothing you could do but level it and try again. Downtown L.A. sucks.
Assemblyman Matt Haney says if you move last call from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., it'll bring life back to downtown. I think he's wrong. What say you at 800-222-5222? 1-800-222-5222. San Francisco Assemblyman Matt Haney wants to move last call from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. He says that'll bring people back to downtown. I don't think that's the silver bullet. What say you at 800-222-5222? And Randy, you have an email before we get to the calls?
If you'd like to email us, you could do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Susan writes in and says, yes, in the 50s we went to downtown L.A. My grandmother took me on Angel's Flight. We would have tea at Magden's on Wilshire. We would even take the bus. My, how things have changed.
Let's go to Joe in Santa Monica. Joe, hello.
Gosh, my story's moving all over the place. When I was a kid, I got in my golf clubs. I was 9 years old. I get on the bus at Burbank Boulevard and go in Tarzana and go to Studio City and play golf. That was a trip. And when I was a kid, my dad would take me downtown to the pantry, and we'd have a meal at like 4 o'clock and go to the Coliseum and go to the Dodger game. And the pantry is no longer there because of things that you've said in this segment, and also the lockdowns kind of did it in. So I wish I had an answer to your question. I don't, but I think you're right. We just need a safer downtown, a safer place, and I pray that what Trump is doing helps to build up the economy and build up manufacturing in the country. That's all I have to say, sir. Thank you. And, oh, by the way, you two guys are great. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate that. And, Randy, when you put this story in the context of where the state is going in terms of housing, they think that we all want to live in a downtown type of environment. because they want high density and they want all of us to live next to transportation corridors.
Well, and good luck with that, because even before the pandemic, downtown had like a 30% vacancy rate. We could talk all we want about a housing crisis, but all the housing they built in downtown L.A., nobody wants to live in. Now, it's expensive as hell, but on top of that, there's very few people who want to live in downtown L.A.
Let's go to JJ in Venice. JJ, hello.
Hey, what's going on, John, Randy? Man, downtown is filthy. I was down there last Friday for some court, and like Randy said, it got stuck in a time capsule. It needs, like John Baccaria says, it needs a scrubbing. It needs a big time scrubbing and remodeling. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but it's filthy down there. Stay away. Downtown, it's out of control. It's bad. It's ugly. That's it. Hey, you guys keep up the good work over there.
Scrub it.
Thank you for the call, sir.
It does need a scrub-a-dub-dub. I'll give him that.
It needs a scrub. It needs a fresh coat of paint. In fact, Randy, I think it just needs an enema.
Scrub it.
Let's go to Steve in Laguna Woods. Steve, hello.
Scrub it? Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, you guys, Randy made a great observation the other day about the 3rd Street Promenade, Santa Monica, and the terminus of the metro and what's happened down there. I'm saying that you're 100% accurate, generally speaking, including San Francisco. I grew up locally. I'm a retired airline captain. I went to New York 7 times a week, 7 times a month, and Chicago, and they were wonderful places. And I took my kids up to San Francisco all the time. I was in the military up in San Francisco all the time. Now they've got YouTubers doing accurate postings on what's going on commercially in San Francisco. And since there's been the flight of all the retailers, commercial property values have dropped like 50%. A $50 million building is worth $25 million. They're vacant. Same thing on the 3rd Street Promenade. Lease prices are still up. They have YouTubers documenting this too. And the expectation is this is a planned thing, and they expect large companies like what they're doing for rental properties to swoop in and buy en masse. But I will say that Miami, for example, is vital and healthy and safe, and it's totally turned around. Fort Lauderdale and Vancouver, those are extremely user-friendly urban places, and they're vital, and they've 180'd, whereas Manhattan and Chicago and downtown L.A. My parents used to drop me off, my brother and me, at the boys' club and the YMCA. We'd do judo and then do our homework at the public library in Santa Monica. That is off the table. So thank you for all the good work you do.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir.
Hey, Johnny, you know why Miami's so safe now?
Why is that?
Dexter killed all the serial killers.
Let's go to Connie in San Francisco. Connie, hello.
Hi. I agree with all that you said about the downtown areas needing to be cleaner. They need to be safe. The parking needs to be available and somewhat affordable for working people. But also, as a person that worked in downtown San Francisco many years ago when it was safe and clean, the company that I worked for, they paid a little higher rate to people working in the downtown area because they knew you had to dress up more. You ate out downtown, which was more expensive, and it was more of a hassle to get there than to work in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, and you look at these malls that are actually doing okay, that are thriving. And Rick Caruso, the big developer down here, has a bunch of them. They look like Disneyland. They look like places that look like the exact opposite of what you would expect to see in downtown LA, downtown San Francisco, downtown Oakland. And people are just essentially opting out of those downtown areas for all of the reasons that we mentioned. And when you have a mall that looks like Main Street USA in Anaheim, California, people choose that 10 times out of 10 over going to a downtown area where you might see a homeless person having an episode or someone's going to hit you on the head to take your money.
Yeah, I wouldn't go down there to shop or to go to a movie or anything. It's not a fun experience right now, but back in the day it was.
All right, thank you for the call. Let's go to Ben in Beverly Hills. Ben, welcome.
I remember our former mayor, Villagrosa, used to go to a lot of Laker games, and I don't know if people remember, before he was first elected, he promised to end poverty. But he wound up having to pay, pay either the city or pay fines for accepting those tickets for so many events, and he did nothing. He didn't end poverty. He didn't even talk about the ways out of homelessness. I used to work in downtown, and I worked up and down the Wilshire corridor, lived and worked since the 50s, and it was a paradise from Santa Monica to downtown. But my feeling is, even though I do support the late night alcohol, 4 o'clock call, I feel it's our acceptance of this lifestyle of the pre-homeless and the homeless. We consider it bohemian and cute and add spice. Well, look at the status of Santa Monica now versus 20 years ago. Do you like that? When I talk to my cousin who owns property, she isn't upset.
Yeah.
I want to know.
No, that's true. The people who vote in these areas are highly tolerant of the condition of their downtown areas and their cities. I don't get it, but that's how they feel.